I'm Howard Phillips Lovecraft, and I must issue an apology. It seems that in my haste and excitement to tell you of my coming to the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival in San Pedro, California this April, I wholly neglected to mention that the benefactors generously bringing me out are the charming vintners at Lovecraft Wines. Lovecraft Wines, because you don't need to be inebriated to appreciate the irony of naming alcohol after a teetotaler. But today's question comes to us from Mr. Sanders, who first off asks if I've ever noticed that trees rather resemble writhing masses of snakes that have erupted from the very ground, twisted around each other before being petrified by some unseen subterranean horror. I hadn't. But now, of course, I can never unsee that. His actual question, though, is if I were to ever write a fairy tale, what would it be like? Now, I assume he is referring to real fairy tales and not the wholesome, sanitized variety brought down to us by the people at Disney, such as Sleeping Beauty or Snow White or the Avengers films. No, chthonic, earthy fairy tales that understand that children have a healthy appreciation for the dark horrors that surround them constantly. And as a child, I was very fortunate to have access to many of these wonderful tales, as well as to live in New England and be exposed to those dark woods that were very redolent of the Teutonic forests that inspired so many of these tales. And indeed, I don't think it'd be much of a stretch to say that, well, I've already written fairy tales. Many of my stories can be seen as sort of modern adaptations of some of the more classic stories. The Shadow over Innsmouth, for example, has its own frog prince, and what is Dagon if not a sort of Little Mermaid? The mice in Cinderella are very closely related to the rats in the walls, and the thing on the doorstep is just a more economic retelling of Beauty and the Beast. And of course, what is at Mountains of Madness if not another one of these frozen adaptations of the Ice Queen? But perhaps I should just let it go at that. I think I've made my point. You see, these stories are so powerful because they manage to infect us and burst out when we least expect it. Indeed, much like a cobbler coming down and finding the shoes already built, we writers often find these elements written into our stories with no memory of how they got there. What we do with them from that point, of course, is our choice. And that's where the real fun begins. As always, I'm Howard Phillips Lovecraft. Thank you.